Hello there, welcome to the programme.
Coming up tonight, insult to injury. This war veteran took his own life after the army failed him. Now it's blocking a bereavement payment to his family.
How much more do you want me to endure? The pain and suffering and the trauma before the right people look at this and say, well, you know, what's going on here with this system?
Biting the hand that feeds, police hunt the arsonists who destroyed this food bank in Dewsbury.
The race to save our history. Why a 60-year-old Yorkshire tradition attracting runners from around the world is now under threat.
And never judge a record by its cover. The collection of weird, wonderful and downright dreadful artwork on show in Huddersfield.
Good evening. The widow of a Derbyshire war veteran who took his own life is pleading with the Ministry of Defence to drop its legal challenge against her family's bereavement payment.
Johnny Cole suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder following 2 tours of Afghanistan, but wasn't diagnosed until after he died. An inquest in Chesterfield found failures by both the Army and the NHS in Nottinghamshire.
Now his widow Teresa says an appeal against compensation for her family is adding to their ongoing trauma. Emma Wilkinson has more on this story, and you may find some details in her report distressing.
Johnny was a bubbly, happy-go-lucky chap.
When Teresa married Johnny Cole, he was a very different man from the one who returned from war. While serving in Afghanistan, he survived a Taliban rocket attack and was left tortured by what he witnessed on the battlefield.
When we would have talked about it, he would have said to me, I went and I had to lift whatever I could, body parts, and put them into a black bag. And he just was a completely different man. He isolated himself from myself and our children. He started showing signs of being mentally disturbed, and he's banging his head off the worktop and splitting his head open, and you're asking him, why are you doing that, and you're scaring me, and he's like, you don't realise what I'm dealing with.
Johnny took his own life in Derbyshire in 2018. He'd harmed himself before, including while he was still serving. He was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, but that was only diagnosed after his death. A coroner later concluded he was failed in a number of ways by both the NHS and the Ministry of Defence.
I would like to think that if my husband had been cared for, looked after by, as he called it, his family, the army, that he would still, be alive today.
A court has ruled Teresa is eligible for what's called a bereavement claim, compensation awarded to families of service personnel who died due to MOD negligence. But Teresa was shocked when the payment was stopped because the MOD is appealing the decision.
I've had a total breakdown in my life that I never thought I would suffer. I would have believed my husband didn't go to war numerous times, and to pay into a pension that leaves his wife and children struggling, like what has happened to me.
In a statement, the MOD said, "We are committed to renewing the contract with those who serve, have served and their families, and are determined to provide those experiencing mental health challenges with the support they need." Teresa says the challenge to her payment should be dropped.
How much more do you want me to endure? The pain and suffering and the trauma before the right people look at this and say, well, you know, what's going on here with this system?
Johnny served for more than 17 years, fighting for his country. Teresa cannot understand why more than 7 years after his death, she is still having to fight. Emma Wilkinson, ITV News.
Well, thanks, of course, go to Teresa for sharing her story, and we'll keep you updated with any developments.
A man has been charged with murder 20 years after a fatal shooting in Sheffield. Ibrahim Ilyas was the victim of a drive-by shooting in the Fir Vale area in June 2006. 2 other men in the car were injured. Mohammed Ali was jailed for a minimum of 30 years in 2007 for his murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. Now, a second man, 44-year-old Fazer Hussein has been charged with the same offences after being arrested at Manchester Airport on Saturday.
Meanwhile, a man's appeared in court charged with the murder of a woman who was found dead in a house near Wakefield. The body of Caroline Barraclough was discovered by police at Ken Churchill Drive in Horbury on Thursday. David Barraclough appeared at Leeds Magistrates and was remanded in custody to appear at Leeds Crown Court tomorrow.
Next tonight, and police are investigating a suspected arson attack on a food bank in Dewsbury, which has been forced to close to some of the most vulnerable people that it helps support.
The extent of the damage to the premises of the Bramwell's Hope charity isn't yet fully known following the fire early yesterday morning, but staff say they expect supplies and resources will have been lost in the blaze, which is thought to have been started deliberately. Here's Lisa Adlam.
This is the base of Bramwell's Hope here in Dewsbury, a charity which is a vital source of support for the local community and which today remains closed to that community because of a fire that started early yesterday morning. And you can see here the evidence of that fire with smoke damage and damage that we can't even see inside, which apparently is very much worse indeed. And I'm here with Jenny, who is the chairman of trustees of Bramwell's Hope. Jenny, a terrible shock to find out what had happened yesterday.
Oh, devastating. Not just for me, for the whole team, and even more importantly for the people that rely on us on a weekly basis. It's just beyond words, really.
Because you do so much for so many people. There's a food bank here. You don't know what you've lost from that.
Nope.
It's a place where people can get advice. Just tell me about it.
So we have a food bank here. We also support people with the gas and electric payments for people that are struggling. We have a Healthy Holidays project, so we've got all the equipment that we use for that. There's about £1,000 worth of toys in there. We have no idea whether we still have those or not. It's and the structural damage as well. We don't know what we're dealing with yet.
And it's only a few months since you got the keys to start up here, but people have been rallying to offer you support as well to get back on your feet as soon as you can.
Absolutely. Do you know what? The local people are amazing. We've worked in this area for 6 years. And the people have messaged, commented, saying when can we have a Just Give page. The workmen have offered to come and help us get back on our feet, and it really restores your faith in mankind.
And I guess you would also finally, anyone who knows anything, has information that could help solve this with the police, you would ask them to come forward.
Absolutely. If anybody's got Ring doorbell footage in the area or a dash cam, if they can look, any help they can give, it doesn't matter how small, please. We just really need to catch whoever's done this.
Okay, well, Jenny, thank you very much. A really difficult and worrying time for everyone involved here and for all those people who rely on this place for really important support. West Yorkshire Police are now investigating the cause of the fire, which was passed to them by the fire service, as I say, because they do believe it was a deliberate incident.
Lisa Adram reporting there. Well, you're watching Monday night's calendar. Still to come before 6:30, a win away from Wembley. Leeds United give Delia's Norwich City a good roasting and book themselves a place in the FA Cup quarter-finals.
And another week, another weather story. Signs of an early and warm spring continue, but I'm not sure what the blossom or the bees will think by the end of the week. All the detail a little later on.
Thank you very much, Carrie. We'll see you later. Now, for more than 60 years, the World Coal Carrying Competition has brought competitors from all over the world to the pit village of Gawthorpe near Ossett. But now its future has been thrown into doubt.
Yes, thousands of people turn out to see the contestants race with a sack of coal on their back. But now the Easter bank holiday spectacle is under threat. There are plans for a 24-hour petrol station to be built right on the start line. Katie Oscroft explains.
This was 1980 and crowds lined the streets in Gawthorpe.
Only another 100 yard, bygone lift up, getting blooming ever.
It started as a bet between two friends in 1963 in the Royal Oak pub. Since then, men carrying 50 kilograms of coal, women 20, have raced to the village maypole.
Near lad, there's only another 50 yard.
It's just a wonderful community event that brings us all together once a year.
The pub became the start line but shut 2 years ago. Now plans to turn it into a round-the-clock petrol station have got organisers worried that necessary road closures might mean it has to be moved if it can go ahead.
The ins and outs of a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week petrol station would cause a lot of road safety issues.
Catherine and Craig are both race winners. Catherine's efforts in 2011 saw her set the current women's world record.
Then there've been new records for the new start time, so it would mean it's just held but not challenged, which we always want records to be there to be challenged. It's part of the history of the event, so we want it to go forward.
Last year, Craig was 3 seconds off the men's record. He's training hard to beat it.
When you're aiming for a goal, it's just so good to see your name on the record, so seeing that taken away from you is really frustrating.
The race attracts runners from Canada and Australia. It's even been won by gladiator Jodie Ounsley, who's from nearby Dewsbury. Well, the maypole here is where exhausted runners carrying their sacks of coal cross the finish line. The race will go ahead this Bank Holiday Monday, but after that, an event which organisers say makes not just competitors, but a whole community stronger, is in doubt.
The event gives a reason for people to come out.
It's all about traditions and memories, so taking that away is really disappointing.
We refer to as intangible heritage. They mean so much to this community.
Wakefield Council says it has received a planning application and will consider all the comments it receives.
All done, lad. Come and get the cup.
Organisers say moments like this in their former mining village are priceless. Katie Oscroft, ITV News, Gawthorpe.
Oh, such an amazing spectacle. It'd be such a shame to see it go.
Oh, yeah. Well, I kind of hope that it might happen somewhere else.
I'm
instead.
sure it will live on some way or another. And of course it is really good to record those historic moments as well, isn't it? But gone are the days of photo albums and VHS tapes. These days much of our life is lived online. We take photos and send messages, and all of those are stored on our devices. So what happens to all of that when we die?
Yeah, we don't like to think about it, do we? But a recent study shows that many of us don't know how we can manage our loved ones' access to our data after death, prompting calls for them to be modernised. Hannah Ludlow reports.
A moment of joy between a dad and his daughter. Now a precious memory. Rachel's husband Matt was the family photographer. When he died suddenly in 2015, Rachel tried to access his iPhone.
My daughter was only 6, so I thought actually for her, you know, the younger you are, the more difficult it is to remember a parent that's died. So I wanted to get those memories really for her.
Although she was his sole heir and executor, Apple refused to let Rachel into Matt's iCloud account. It took a 3-year court battle for Rachel to finally get access.
The weirdest thing is that you can inherit houses and cars and bank accounts, but actually what you want is the memories of your late husband.
Every day we share, store and upload parts of ourselves in digital form, from photos and videos to messages and metadata. But what happens to all of that when we die, and who has the right to access it? A recent study shows that 76% of us want to decide who has access to our digital remains, but only 28% of us know that companies like Google, Facebook and Apple allow users to manage who can access things like photos and messages. For example, on some social media platforms, you can nominate a legacy contact or request that your account is deleted when you die.
Cyber experts like Dr. Xiaohong Chen in Sheffield say we should make a plan for what we want to happen to our data.
Obviously, you can include instructions in your will in terms of how you would like your data to be handled. The most convenient and free way to manage your data is to make use of the tools available on those platforms, and very importantly, let your loved one knows that you've set those things up.
Rachel is now urging others to plan ahead to avoid future stress.
Make sure that people know how to access your computers or your phones or your laptops or whatever it is. It's really important that you have thought about it.
And that was Rachel Thompson ending Hannah Ludlow's report, and such a good tip from her because I don't think we think about those kind of things.
We certainly don't. No, I certainly haven't done. No. Right, let's get some sport now. Arif joins us in the studio and, well, looking very fresh-faced after your return from Vegas. Obviously, the jet lag's not so, affecting you too much.
Not too bad at all.
What's in store for us tonight, then?
Well, Michael, Leeds United are into tonight's FA Cup quarter-final draw for the first time in 23 years.
Powering local sport in the community. Octopus Energy sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
After Mansfield's defeat to Arsenal, Leeds United are our last team standing in this season's competition. And Sean Longstaff opened the scoring at Ellen Road yesterday with a technically superb goal, turning sharply to fire past the Norwich keeper. And after setting up the first, Gabriel Goodmanson got the second with his first goal for the club. And Joe Peru rounded off the win late on, 3-0, the final score.
Pretty happy with the performance, pretty happy with the clean sheet, with the 3 goals. I think pretty dominant performance, also 2 more goals ruled out by VAR. Could have scored 1 or 2 more, but nevertheless many things to like about, and I'm pretty happy that we are through, and yeah, the dream can continue.
The quarter-final draw will take place in about half an hour's time as well.
Now, Arif, last week a lot was made of the Leeds fans who were breaking fast. What's happened this week? What's been the reaction?
A really positive one, Lara, from the fan base at Ellen Road, as the club made it clear ahead of the game that there would be a short break to allow players that are observing Ramadan to break their fast in the second half. And play was stopped just after the hour mark to allow Leeds striker Joe Peru to have some water and take on some energy supplements. And this week there was applause from the Ellen Road crowd. Now, it was a special afternoon for Barnsley superfan Lewis George Wood, who led the teams out on Saturday. The 9-year-old, who was born with quadriplegic cerebral palsy, was a mascot for the win over Exeter, and he was even gifted a coin by the referee before kick-off, and it proved to be a lucky charm as the Tykes went on to win the game 2-1. Well, elsewhere in the Football League, 10-man Bradford City showed some Yorkshire grit to hold off Leyton Orient. Anthony Sarcevic getting both goals for the Bantams in a 2-1 win. Huddersfield Town are in the final playoff spots after beating Rotherham by a single goal. The defeat leaves the Millers in the relegation zone.
So, Arif, that's all the football. Did the Rhinos have any hangover from Vegas?
No, they didn't. Not as bad as we might have thought, as they produced another solid performance to go second in the Super League table. To prove his hat-trick in Las Vegas was no fluke, winger Micah Sivu did it again. He scored 3 of the Rhinos' 4 tries as they beat the Castleford Tigers 22 points to 4. And finally, from me, Wakefield's Dan Bradbury picked up his 3rd win on golf's European Tour. The 26-year-old produced a stunning back 9, recording 4 birdies to win by a single shot in South Africa. It's his 2nd win at the Joburg Open, and it seems like he quite enjoyed the celebrations.
Yeah. Is that all the sport then?
That's all from me.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Harry.
You're welcome.
Well, actually, we're staying with sport for a bit, and over the last couple of years, we've seen a number of famous faces getting involved with football clubs up and down the country.
Yeah, whether it's film stars Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney as majority owners of Wrexham, singer Ed Sheeran buying a small stake in Ipswich Town, rapper Snoop Dogg investing in Swansea City, or comedian Will Ferrell joining a group of investors at Leeds United.
Yeah, it's not uncommon to see faces familiar to all of us in the boardroom, is it? In fact, Martin Fisher is with the new chairman of the world's oldest football club, Sheffield FC. So, Martin, does Sheffield have its very own rock star at the helm?
Well, it does now. You can see where I am. I'm at the home of football. It literally says it over there. Established the club, Sheffield FC, in 1857. But today they have a new chairman. People may well recognise John McClure, lead singer of Reverend and the Makers. So, John, what's a music man doing in non-league football?
Well, I guess I'm a proud Sheffield lad, and obviously I've always kept an eye on Sheffield FC. I think there's an element to which our music and football are similar in so much as we've got an amazing music scene and we invented football, and maybe there's something in the Sheffield culture where we've never maybe not shouted about that as much as we should do, and I think that's about to change. I'd like to think that we can be more forthcoming in letting people know we invented the global game, loved by billions.
Yeah, you were very passionate earlier in your press conference that we haven't made enough of the opportunities, both business and football, for Sheffield FC.
Yeah, you know, you would think that having the oldest club in the world, we codified the rules here. The second oldest club, Hallam FC, is in Sheffield, the oldest football ground, world's oldest derby. And I think it says a lot about our city. If this were London or Manchester, they'd be shouting it from rooftops. And while we don't like people to be big-headed in Sheffield, there is an element to which you've got to start telling people the story. And obviously, as a musician and a songwriter, part of my job is storytelling. And I think the job here is to tell the story and let people know, both in the South Yorkshire area but nationally and globally, that, you know, football started here. And it's a crying shame that it's in a B&Q car park, really.
Yeah, and very briefly though, you are a music man. Have you got plans for a new anthem then? Is it Waddle and Hoddle? Is it World Emotion?
No, there's no Sheffield FC anthem, but who knows what's around the corner. Keep your eyes peeled.
OK, thanks very much, John. Well, you've heard it, the world's oldest football club, but today a new broom sweeping in with promise of big changes here.
Ah, wonderful. Martin Fisher in Sheffield, thank you very much.
Now then, name some of the best album covers of all time, and I suspect you're thinking Abbey Road by the Beatles, maybe, perhaps Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Well, how about some of the very worst?
Well, a collection of around 200 of the most dreadful has gone on display to raise money for charity in West Yorkshire, and believe it or not, includes the likes of Beyonce and David Bowie. Sarah Clark's been to take a look.
Amusing, hilarious and perplexing. Just some of the words that could be used to describe the collection of the world's worst record covers.
30 years ago, I bought an album by Peter Rabbit called Roadstar for 10p in a record shop in Manchester, and subsequently I lost it. And then the internet came along and I found it again. I ordered it. When it arrived was one of the happiest moments of my life. And that evening I said to my family, do you know what? I think I'll collect bad LP covers.
And he did. 700 in fact, many of which are on display at this cafe in Huddersfield, Steve's hometown.
So these are some from the exhibition, and your favourite's on here, isn't it? Which one is it?
Yeah, it's this one, Oil and Vinegar. The couple are nude, except their modesty is hidden by some cabbage leaves, and indeed a bit of cabbage can be seen passing between their lips.
It's an interesting one, and this one is quite interesting too. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, let this be a lesson to you, drunk driver. I mean, there's a graveyard, and in front of it there's this crash cars.
And was this a hit?
No.
What makes you think, perfect, that can go into my collection?
I look for the fact that it makes me laugh. There's a few famous ones. So there's Beyonce, Cowboy Carter, David Bowie, Toy.
The Barbara Streisand, which is hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, but Barbara Streisand, was a Japanese import. Of all the photos of Barbara Streisand, that's probably the worst one I've seen.
And speaking of the worst, some covers are hitting the right note with the customers.
Very quirky.
Strange ones, odd ones. And there's one over there, Daydreams and Nightmares. Looking at it, I'd say, give me nightmares. Don't know about daydreams. But yeah, there are some funny ones, very funny ones.
To accompany the rather interesting artwork, the staff have prepared a specials menu.
An interesting challenge, converting some truly horrible designs into food that actually tastes quite nice. There is an album cover which has a grapefruit with the faces of the band. 4 faces kind of superimposed on the front of it. So we've made a vegan grapefruit cake.
And if that's got you in a spin, the album covers will be on show here for the next 2 weeks. Sarah Clark, ITV News in Huddersfield.
Yeah, a little bit odd those, aren't they?
I find it all a bit creepy, to be honest. Right, Keza, come on.
How do we
cheer us all up.
How do we move on from creepy?
I know, very odd.
Yeah,
well, early spring, maybe that's the way to move on.
Well, it's a very different week compared to last week. Of course, the temperatures popped up to 17 degrees in the latter part of last week. We did have a little bit of sunshine today. I thought I'd show you Sandy's picture. You can see the lovely cloud just hovering over Castle Hill there in the Pennines, and that's where all our weather is coming from, the west. But yes, if you got a little bit of blue sky today, you'd be very lucky. And of course, last week and the last couple of weeks, really with mild conditions, we've been having all those signs of spring and all nature sort of popping its way out. I thought I'd show you this one, which is blackthorn. I don't know if you remember the difference. I mentioned this time last year, that the white flowers arrive before the leaves if it's blackthorn, and then a little bit later in the season you've got the hawthorn, where the leaves come first and then you get the flowers. So that's a way of saying it. But they've all been popping out, all the tree pollen, and also this time last year I mentioned phenology, the study of seasonal changes in plants and animals. And just as you mentioned there, with our warmer and earlier springs, had a little look at Sheffield for March, and our Marches in the last 30 years compared to the previous 30 years have gone up by a whopping 1.5 degrees. It's massive. Here's your forecast.
Today's forecast: seafood and sugar cube towns. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yes, sunshine at a premium today once more, but where we saw those brighter breaks despite the generally cloudy skies, still looking pretty across the region. A big thank you to Matt for this shots, weather photos at itv.com. And yes, although we stay with fairly cloudy skies, there'll be some occasional sunshine over the next few days. The winds are picking up from tonight through into tomorrow, and showery outbreaks of rain in between those sunnier spells. Basically, low pressure is coming in from the west. We'll see a spell tomorrow night, and again another spell coming through by Thursday night. In between, yes, some drier and brighter spells, but all the while those isobars fairly tightly packed, so some pretty windy conditions to come for the rest of the week. Overnight tonight, a weak front working eastward, so generating quite a few showers, quite a bit of cloud around for a time, but as we head towards dawn, tending to ease off, becoming a little drier and clearer, but with the winds starting to pick up, nothing too chilly, so certainly for towns and cities hovering around 7 or 8. As we head into tomorrow, 6:34 and 6 o'clock are your sun times as we head into Tuesday, starting off dry, possibly with some bright spells, but generally quite a lot of cloud around. Similar to today, it will thin at times, producing some brighter breaks, and you can see there's some showers trying to push onto the Pennines, most likely the Yorkshire Dales. For everyone else, it's mostly dry, variable cloud, but those winds gathering strength, becoming strong and gusty by the end of the day, and highs again milder than average at 12 or 13. This system coming through, producing a wet and windy spell through the middle part of the night, and then as we head into Wednesday, sunny spells and maybe 1 or 2 showers over western fringes, and a little bit of a mixture as we head towards the second half of the week.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
There you go, and if you saw that, it's taken a little turn. We feel a little bit chilly by Friday in that wind.
There was me feeling all spring-like, and it's going away already as soon as it came.
It won't last long. That's it for now. I'm back at 10:30. See you later on. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.